the sport, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
This is 7 News, the voice of the New England.
Tonight, King's birthday honours for Aussies who go above and beyond for the community. Egg producers hit back at checkout limits by a major supermarket.
I'm Daniel Gibson. Later on this news hour, growing fears that supermarkets could hike up the price of eggs. And Peter Costello's resignation sparks calls for Nine's CEO to step down.
7 News begins now.
Good evening. Some of the region's quiet achievers have been recognised in this year's King's Birthday Honours. Despite coming from all walks of life, they have one thing in common: a dedication to their community.
Country Music Festival manager Barry Harley has been around since the early years of Tamworth's Country Music Festival, helping develop the event into the powerhouse it is today. His 50 years of involvement across the industry and seeing the festival thrive are some of his proudest moments.
For a city to actually effectively own a genre of music, and for a genre of music to own a city, is just an accomplishment that we couldn't let go.
Partner in life and also many times in local events, Kate Nugent's management talents also making her mark, shaping attractions like AgQuip.
This is not about me. This is, for me, about all of the people whom I've had the most glorious times to be working with.
Tamworth events wouldn't be the same without Barry and Kate, adding an OAM to their list of achievements.
There's much more to do.
And great people coming through, great teams, great, just skill levels beyond belief.
Country Music Hall of Famer Lynette Walker kicked off her career at age 7. She never expected it to take her around Australia, on television, and now on the nation's most prestigious list.
We'd be out doing all sorts of other gigs and you do other music, but you always come back and it's always there that you do country music.
Starting out in local government, Ray Chappell's career saw him serve the region as the member for Northern Tablelands and as a minister in the Fay government.
It was those daily rewards that I think add up to more than a big award.
A pillar of the Glen Innes community, Lynette Cregan has been recognised for her tireless volunteer work across local sport, Meals on Wheels and the Royal Easter Show.
And it's lovely to be with fellow volunteers. It's a wonderful thing. I think everyone should volunteer.
The late Graydon Henning was honoured for his work as a lecturer at the University of New England and his passion for maritime history, serving as president of its peak body.
Graydon was a very loving person who always put others first, and so it's just been quite heartwarming.
Inverell's John Henderson was also recognised for his work in the sporting community, and former Moree councillor Neville Kelly for services to the community. James Carter, 7 News.
9 police officers across New South Wales have been awarded an Australian Police Medal. It was part of the King's Birthday Honours, among them Superintendent Scott Richard Tanner, who joined the force back in 1993. He grew up in Werris Creek and spent much of his career in regional towns. In 2003, he was promoted to Sergeant at Gunnedah Police Station before his move to Coonabarabran. In 2018, he was promoted to Superintendent and Commander for the New England Police District. He says his time in regional New South Wales was more than just a job. He became a part of the community.
Yeah, there's some downsides to it. You get quite often, a lot of the victims that you're dealing with. But I think you can police it better once you've got that human connection with people.
Superintendent Tanner is now based in Lismore, heading up the Richmond Police District. A Narrabri firefighter has been awarded an Australian Fire Service Medal. Richard Seeley joined the Bushfire Brigade in 1975 at the age of just 13. Before rising up the ranks, he was appointed Group Captain in 2011.
Come up through the ranks and did all the hard way, and you go out to a fire and then you find out you're the boss for the night and all this sort of stuff, and they throw you in the deep end. But it was all part of the learning curve, and yeah.
Mr. Seeley was the first to volunteer and last to leave the Pilliga forest fires and has been described as an exceptional and respected leader. Well, producers are criticising a decision by Coles to restrict egg sales at the checkout as Victoria deals with an outbreak of bird flu. It's been labelled a knee-jerk reaction that could do more harm than good.
A fifth Victorian poultry farm records a case of avian flu, a disease that poses very low risk to humans but can cause severe sickness and sudden death in chickens. Almost 500,000 have been euthanised south of the border.
All of industry is keeping a very close eye on the events that are happening in Victoria. At this point, it looks as if it's contained.
Quarantine measures are in place, but now the breakfast staple is taking a hit. Coles is enforcing 2 cartons of eggs per customer, worried about shortages arising from a widespread outbreak. But local egg farmer Bede Burke says this is a reactionary step.
Farmers in Australia, I think, have very, very high biosecurity levels and controls at their farms anyway, so an incursion like this is extremely rare.
Producers don't want a throwback to the days of short supply during COVID that resulted in fights over toilet paper.
We won't run out of eggs. Even though it's a public holiday today, farmers are still doing their work collecting their eggs. The birds don't go out and lay on a public holiday.
The New South Wales Farmers Association is concerned it's just hurting egg farmers who have nothing to do with the outbreaks.
We know how to prevent it with good biosecurity, so people should consume their eggs and chicken meat with confidence.
And no other supermarket has made this step. They've criticised Coles for going against the grain.
It really says more about the supermarkets' procurement policies that Coles have got this rule.
Coles said in a statement it's working closely with suppliers to ensure eggs remain available and is providing support to the industry. Rex Quayle, 7 News.
Well, the majority of small businesses closed up shop for the public holiday, but the ones who did choose to stay open reaped the benefits of a long weekend.
A public holiday for the majority of people. Tamworth's Pill Street was bustling, locals out and about enjoying their day off. For most businesses, it's time to shut the doors and have a break. Others believe it's a great time to stay open.
People want something to do, and we hope they come to the movies, and that's one of the reasons.
Although the number of customers walking through the doors can fluctuate each public holiday, Forum 6 Cinemas was busy, but not like pre-pandemic levels.
We've actually got an extra staff member on today, just in case it was going to be busy. But unfortunately, that staff member is going to go home early today. They're not going to do their full shift.
Hospitality venues like Burger Balls were busy with patrons from 11 a.m. Their lunchtime session packed with people enjoying a meal, but they were prepared with extra staff.
It wasn't like hectic or nothing like that, because we were like enough staff at the front, at the back, and we were ready for that. We knew like people want to come for a lunch.
Burger Balls is one business that chooses to open most public holidays. Owners say people will always need a good meal.
We are open all the time, so they're expecting us to be here, and we are here to serve them.
Rachel Holdsworth, 7 News.
1 in 2 women who work in retail say they've experienced sexual harassment. That's according to new data from the Organisation for Women's Safety, revealing more than half of female workers have been harassed, with younger women the most at risk. In a third of cases, customers were the offenders. There are now calls for employers to better educate them about protecting staff.
Managers are the intersection between the victims and that next step in terms of taking action. So it's really important to make sure that the education and awareness at that level is really strong.
The industry body hopes the retail sector will take the recommendations on board to help stamp out harassment in the workplace. Well, a large area of New South Wales is affected by drought. That's despite some recent rain. With winter traditionally a dry season, there are calls for governments to step up for farmers.
Expect the downpours to stay away for a little while. Above average rain in April hasn't done much to help the Department of Primary Industry's latest snapshot. 34% of the state is in either a weakening drought, intensifying drought, or fully in drought.
Summer's been pretty patchy, wetter than what was predicted, but patchy across the state.
So farmers have been paying close attention to work their businesses for the next few months. President of the New South Wales Farmers Association, Xavier Martin, has seen up and down business across the state.
The pricing for both plants and animals, plant products and animals, is quite variable. And to the extent we've got a whole lot of external effects going on.
He says wars overseas are impacting trade routes and affecting the region's exports.
All these things are causing some level of uncertainty.
The New England Northwest is mostly in an intensifying drought-affected area. Winter is generally a drier time and there's not much rain on the forecast. With external factors going against them, Mr. Martin says farmers need support if the dry settles in.
So we need government, state and federal, to make good decisions, not to make a bad situation worse. Getting those economic settings right in a period of high inflation, high interest rates, and this volatility of pricing is absolutely critical.
But according to the Bureau of Meteorology, between July, August and September, it's supposed to pick back up again, with slightly wetter than average conditions.
It will certainly be dry for the next few weeks. It may not be that bad in the long term for the next 3 months.
Rex Quayle, 7 News.
Well, it was a gloomy start to the day in Tamworth and along the Peel Valley. Thick fog settled across the area from the early hours of the morning. Motorists forced to drive to the conditions with some low visibility, although the P Super had cleared by around 10:30 in the morning. Well, for more weather now, Kirstie joins us for a look at today's conditions. And Kirstie, as we've seen, some pretty foggy conditions out there this morning.
Yeah, we did have a big fog across the valley, Nick, but we also saw those temperatures drop this morning following milder minimums across the weekend. And that was as that cloud cover cleared overnight. We saw those clear skies above that fog this morning. That did allow temperatures to cool down and even led to some areas of frost. Sunshine throughout our afternoon, though, as temperatures warmed up and reached the mid to high teens for most of our region. Those maximums felt cooler than the June average, though, and we were made to feel much cooler thanks to gusty west and southwesterly winds. Armidale reached 14, but at 2 p.m. felt like 8 degrees. Narrabri had winds swinging out of the northeast, reaching 17. Cool but sunny for the rest of this week. I'll have the forecast shortly, Nick.
Sounds good, Kirstie. We'll see you soon. Thank you. Well, still to come in 7 News, more resources needed to combat domestic violence. And ratepayers demand transparency over the future of Ray Walsh House.
And a little later on this news hour, the government deploys a new weapon in its battle against vaping. Peter Costello's resignation puts pressure on Nine's CEO to follow suit. The discovery of Michael Mosley's body sparks new questions. And Donald Trump's back on the campaign trail as the election battle heats up.
Tamworth Ratepayers Association is calling on council for more transparency on the future of Ray Walsh House. Staff were relocated from the former council headquarters 2 years ago after asbestos was discovered. Councillors last month voted not to proceed with remediation of the building due to the estimated $65 million cost. The Ratepayers Association wants documents released about a possible sale of Ray Walsh House.
We really want a lot more transparency about the whole matter. We want to see the documents that verify what council's saying, particularly council staff.
Council is working on the next steps, whether it's selling up or demolition. It's not expected to be discussed further until after the September local government elections. The New South Wales budget is set to be unveiled later on this month. The Minns government has given some insight into what the budget will feature, and that includes a $22.9 million upgrade to the Waverley and Rose Bay police stations in Sydney. Country Mayors Association Chair Jamie Chaffey says he's hopeful the budget will help support the regions.
That's the primary objective, is to see more men and women on the ground, but there are so many other factors to reduce crime and support those people in our communities.
$14.2 million will also be dedicated to the state's Forensic Evidence and Technical Services Command. Well, there are serious concerns tonight about wait times for men who are seeking help to change their violent behaviour towards women. With New England authorities recording more than 1,600 domestic violence offences last year, each passing day puts a victim's life at risk.
Molly Ticehurst, Ashley Good, Samantha Murphy. These are the faces of just some of the women who have allegedly been killed by men this year. But those wanting to change their behaviour aren't getting help. Regional rehabilitation services are inundated. The wait lists up to 3 months long.
Women and children aren't getting the support and safety provided for them.
Programs are being paused, and experts fear it could be the difference between life or death.
We know that, for these men, it might be the last time they put their hand up to get support. We just don't have the capacity to start contacting women and children before they're in the program.
Providers blaming a lack of financial assistance in this year's state budget.
Men's behaviour change services have not been given anything, and this is a huge problem. We don't have the funding to check with women at the 6-month mark, at the 1-year mark, and follow up with what is happening.
The state government says wait times average 4 weeks, but concede it's worse in some locations. An evaluation will be undertaken in 2026. One option, a residential model for men to keep women in their own homes.
Perhaps we can provide low-cost accommodation alternatives while they continue to maintain their financial contribution to the family environment of which they've used violence.
A plan aimed at helping women and children from becoming another statistic.
If we can work with the perpetrator, we're less likely to have a victim.
Aspen Blomfield, 7 News.
And if you or anyone you know needs support, you can contact 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732. Well, still to come in 7 News, Inverell's Australia Cup run comes to an end, and Central North suffers a crushing defeat in the Richardson Shield.
Live and first at the Apple HQ.
All the free upgrades coming to your phone, iPad and more.
Plus, it's the box hair dye boom.
Why it's back in trend and the best brands at affordable prices.
Start with Sunrise.
Well, it seems the future of rugby in the region is now in some safe hands. A rare representative clash between Central North and New England pitted our best against each other.
The best of rugby in our region collide at the Country Championships. Central North taking on New England at Ken Chillingworth Oval. Central North were in charge from the outset, and it wasn't long before they were charging to the try line. New England would try hold them out, but couldn't prevent the inevitable. They were in again 5 minutes later. Their 12-point lead grew as Maury's main man dived his way across. Heading into the sheds, Central North were on top 17-0. At the start of the second, Central North ploughed ahead. And ploughed ahead in style. Down by 27, New England finally got their chance. But it wouldn't mean much come the final whistle, with Central North taking out victory 37-7.
Yeah, credit to them. They're just well drilled and just big bodies, and it's what always country rugby's about.
Yeah, hopefully we can build a bit of culture around our scrums and lineouts. That's how we define our Cookers rugby. So yeah, years going forward.
But the good times wouldn't continue for the Kookaburras. They'd ultimately lose the grand final to Central West 55-20, with the Richardson Shield slipping through their fingers. Max Gent, 7 News.
Inverell FC have been knocked out of the Australia Cup after a 7-0 defeat to Edgeworth FC at home. The team was one of 2 community football teams left in the competition, packed with semi-professional clubs from Newcastle. They're still the team to beat in the Northern Inland Premier League and remain hot favourites to take out the competition at the season's end. The fog cleared this morning to reveal just 2 teams left in the Tamworth Baseball June Carnival Invitational. Canberra took on the KC Gallopers from Brisbane in the A-grade final. Both teams were automatically seeded through, with the semi-finals called off due to low visibility. That meant Tamworth watched on from the sidelines as KC took the win 7-2. And the upcoming Tamworth Fight Night has another pro headliner locked in. Gunnedar's Anya Ryan will defend her WBC Australasian welterweight title for the second time. Her opponent, Archana Sharma, will be flown in from India for her shot at glory at the Trek. Up next in 7 News, Kirstie is back and she has your Tuesday weather forecast.
Good evening, everyone. We are bracing for a cold front to cross into New South Wales and Victoria, bringing cooler temperatures, windy weather, excuse me, everyone, and the chance of showers. Now, this system does look to stick around into Wednesday before more settled weather takes its place heading into the second half of the week. And for most of the state, we have dry conditions on the forecast, some showers through the southeast across the Victorian border region, but otherwise remaining settled for those of us across the northern inland. So what's in store for tomorrow? Well, we'll feel the effects of this cold front. There is a risk of a locally severe frost tomorrow morning. Fog also to linger through parts of the northern inland. Winds likely to pick up during the second half of the morning out of the west and the northwest in excess of speeds of 30 kilometres an hour for some. The wind chill also making our temperatures feel cooler. Sunny skies around, maximum sitting in at the mid to high teens. Mostly fine again on Wednesday, but our winds will take a chilly turn, becoming southwesterly and remaining gusty. A clear day in Moree there, 20 degrees, much the same throughout Walgett in the west. Early frost around, very much so in at the early morning through Glen Innes, down to 2 degrees. We're also expecting a very breezy day in the east. We could see 45 kilometre an hour winds. That wind chill certainly making us shiver through the day. Skies to remain fine and sunny into Thursday. We'll see cooler temperatures as a result of those clearing skies. Corindai and Tamworth waking to just 1 degree with maximums in just the mid-teens. Through the east, dropping well below freezing. Walker to -3 in the morning. We'll have similar weather then as we head into Friday. Those cool and frosty mornings sticking around, but with mostly clear skies. We certainly are bracing for some windy weather on the way over the next week or so, Nick.
We certainly are, Kirstie. We'll let you go and get a glass of water for your throat there, you poor thing.
The frog has dropped out, I think.
It certainly has. Thanks. And that is your local news for tonight. You can always catch up on 7plus. Right now, Dan's got your latest national news. Have a lovely evening, and Kirstie and I will see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock.